So yes, welcome everyone to Town Hall number 3. Excited to talk about updates. So Karam has a bunch of updates that he's going to be running us through. Um, as always, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to keep leaving them in the chat. At the end of the session, we will go through questions. If you want to come up and speak to us also, you can talk to us. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. Thanks for everyone for joining in, and I will hand it over to Karam.
Yay, okay. Thanks, Don. First, this is a progress update. The progress is exciting, but we don't have any giant announcement or anything to make at the moment. This is more of a what's going on, where we at, and what's happening thing. So I'm just going to share my screen. And okay. Don, are you able to, and Shubs, are you able to see the shared screen slide deck?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, yay. Welcome to the update. This is the third town hall that we had. I just want to jump right in first by addressing timelines a little bit. So I think we've been very optimistic in the timelines that we've given out so far, and things have taken a little longer to get done than we expected. We will now be adjusting our deadlines and timelines accordingly, and we will make sure to be more conservative and more realistic about them going forward. So I just wanted to put that note in. Okay, so to jump right into the update. So since the last town hall we had, which was roughly about 45, 50 something days ago, we've spoken to dozens of people and got a ton of feedback, both on Discord, in our inboxes, and of course, while actually talking to people. So the two consistent messages that we got from everyone that we spoke to was first, while people were very enthusiastic about what we're doing and wanted to participate in all of that, the general feedback is the story that and the message that we're presenting about what we're doing was a little too complicated, and that's understandable. Because we're talking about rolling out the network in India, the Dabba Pro, the lasers, and HIP64, and there's just way too much happening. So one bit of feedback was a requirement and a request to clarify and simplify our message. The second bit of feedback that we got was the tokenomic first draft that we had presented was generally received as not thoughtful enough, is really what the opinion that everyone had was. This is because of its great deal of similarity to Helium's mobile thing, and we pretty much followed that a lot. But as we started discussing the details with people, we realized that, yes, not thoughtful enough was right. We needed to do far more tweaking to that model to accurately represent the incentives that are unique to our network and sort of play to the strengths and the process of how our network is. So I'm going to dive into detail of both of these things, but before I do that, I just wanted to give you a quick progress update on what's been happening since the last town hall. So I'm just going to quickly cover 3 areas where we made a chunk of progress. The first is in software development, the second is in content team, and the third is the network update process that we're going for. So the first thing is there's a lot of software to be built and has been built to support the Dabba network, right? This is just what you see on the screen is the sum of the different bits and bobs of software that have been built and continue to be built and improved and that sort of thing, right? You've got a bunch of websites, you have a bunch of admin panels, you have firmware for different hardware, you have APIs, you have apps, you have network monitoring systems, a whole bunch of things. And historically, our team has really been 3 software developers, which is 2 other devs in the company and myself. So now I'm really excited to say we've onboarded more devs and the team has doubled from 3 people to 6 people. So we're going to make a lot more progress a lot quicker going forward. This is also because at the beginning, when you're building the core base, it's best to have not too many people involved because it makes it easier to coordinate the foundation layer. It's like, too many cooks in a kitchen. You just want to have the right number of people at the beginning. But now that we have got a solid base in terms of our code and framework and structure. Now that we have doubled the team, the new team members will be able to build on top of this base really quickly. So software dev is going to get a lot better. The second area, and this relates to part of the messaging sort of feedback that we got earlier, is we have never had a real content or design team. Most of everything that you've seen, whether it's our website or videos or anything that we've done, has sort of been with who's free in the team at that time to create a piece of content. Please create that content. Now we have realized the importance of a clear message, a consistent message, and a message that is amplified and spread through multiple channels. We now have a dedicated 4-member team in place whose only jobs are to create content, improve our interfaces, and yeah, help spread the word and help educate the world about what we're doing. The other really important point to be made was, so when we first rolled out our network, our entire focus on our software and our hardware stack was how do you deploy a network as cheaply as possible? And we did that. Now that we're connecting to the network, to the blockchain and tokenizing it, there's a higher degree of flexibility and features that the network and the firmware of all of the routers require that wasn't needed before. So it's taken us the last 2 months to sort of upgrade our entire software stack and test it out. We have rolled it out to about 20% of the network already. And over the next week, 10 days, we hope to sort of upgrade the remainder of the network. We will give a realistic deadline soon, but we hope to do this as soon as possible. This is an incredibly important step because now that we have this basic infrastructure in place, being able to scale the network becomes much easier. We're not going to firefight as the network scales as a team. So that's an incredibly important milestone that we hit. Some of you may have seen the video that Dawn posted a couple of days ago of one of the first installations of the upgrade that we had done. That's gone really well. You can see more details in there. And like I said, network's going to be the remainder of network to be upgraded very soon. Okay, so our current roadmap and where we are at the moment is we're towards the tail end of sort of, the remaining 10% of finishing everything else off. We've got a firm base, we've got to iron out the tokenomics, finish the upgrade of the network. There's a new term here that you see, which is local cable operator onboarded. I'll get into the detail of that in a second. And then finally, of course, the launch of the token mainnet. This roadmap is actually better to be read as like a to-do list where all of these tasks are currently happening in parallel. The tokenomics are being worked on. There's another team that's upgrading the network. There are other teams that are onboarding new partners. There are other teams that are working on the tokens. Right? Things will happen one faster than the other as they get developed. This is not a serial order of first tokenomics, then network upgrade, then so on and so forth, right? And we hope that in the next few weeks or as soon as possible, we are racing as hard as possible to complete all of these tasks. Okay, so getting to the sort of thing that we kicked off with, which was the feedback that we got on our messaging. So the first was, the problem was that we were talking about too many products, too many ideas, and a lack of a cohesive narrative across the chain. Now, we've taken that feedback to heart, and we realized, yes, we're talking about a lot of things, and we are going to simplify our message. And the way that we are going to do this is, for the foreseeable future, all communication is going to be about the Dabba Lite and the India network. When the Dabba Pro and the Laser are fully baked and absolutely ready to go, we'll start talking about those things then. But we want to narrow down what we are talking about so that it's clear and simple for people to understand. And so our focus is going to be on the Dabba Lite. The second area that we're going to focus on is the other thing that we have learned is we have a strong competitive position in the deepen arena that will show over time, because the one fundamental difference is we are building for a demand-driven base rather than putting in supply and then hoping demand kicks in. And that has huge implications with regard to revenue, with regard to growth, with regard to health of the network, and everything else. So our messaging is now going to focus on the light in a simple way, and focus on why this network is unique. So that results in something like this, right? Please keep in mind that this is still sort of work in process. We will continue to refine it, but a good way that we are thinking about it is to say that the Dabba network is building decentralized connectivity by aggregating, empowering local cable operators to double the number of broadband internet subscribers in India. Now, there are a couple of key terms in this definition. Here we try to cover what we're doing and sort of even a little bit of how we're doing it. So you can see that I've underlined aggregating, empowering, and local cable operators. So let me introduce you to what a local cable operator is. And the reason that we're bringing and highlighting this concept is it's always been part of what we were doing. We just never articulated it well. So as we spoke to people, people seem to assume that Dabba Inc. is the only company that is going to be rolling out hotspot. And that is absolutely not the case. Our goal and our mission and our method is to partner with as many smaller ISPs and operators across the country and enable them to scale the network, because that's how it's really going to happen, because we're building a decentralized system and you cannot have Dabba being the only company that is rolling out hotspots in India. So let's talk about what a local cable operator is. So in India, micro ISPs or micro networks are called local cable operators, right? These guys are, one-man, two-man shows. They have a small office. They're in mostly in tier 2, tier 3 towns. There are a ton of them in tier 1 cities also. But they all operate small neighborhood networks. They have all started, been running around for at least a decade, right? Because traditionally their business has been delivering cable TV service. The vast majority of the population still gets TV through cable, not through the satellite dish on the roof. That is changing, of course. And that's one of the reasons that we want to enable these cable operators, which I'll get to in a second. But these are small connectivity providers in the cable business, and there are 100,000 of them in the country. Right? They've all been operating for a few years. They have 300 subscribers on average. And now they're starting to feel the heat from large telecom companies that are slowly starting to expand their networks. So previously, a cable operator didn't have to worry about any of that. But given the data consumption patterns in India and the hunger from the Indian market, everybody is expanding their internet service provisions. So these smaller guys are having to start competing with the bigger guys. And the challenge is the bigger guys, of course, are willing to lose money on installations and that sort of thing. But the difference is the smaller guys have better local knowledge of customers, how to install cables, how to run a more reliable networks, local relationships that are required for clearances and permits and that sort of thing to run these networks. They have the technology skills, operational skills, and infrastructure to run their small networks. What they don't have is the ability to scale those networks as of yet. This is a story that you have seen play out in the last 10 years in the Web 2 world, right? Aggregation and empowering of either local entrepreneurs or small independent people. It's the Uber model, DoorDash, everybody else. This is the same story that you have seen before. The way that we will help them out and grow the network and grow connectivity is the standard way that any aggregator would do it, right? We provide them better training on how to run better networks and scale them. We handle part of the customer care so that there's consistency of the experience from the customer's end, provide them marketing support, provide them hardware support, provide them software support. I'll get into the details of this and in a bit. But we have worked with LCOs before. We are working with LCOs now. We have a really good understanding of their business. We have been talking to them about the token model. It's why it's taken a little time to sort of make sure all of the various stakeholders are on board with how this process would work. But yes, the fundamental idea is there are 100,000 micro operators across the country. We can dramatically scale connectivity by aggregating and empowering them. One way to look at this is, how does this look like from your perspective? So I'm just going to switch over to Photoshop because I'm still making these diagrams and they're a little bigger. But our end result of the experience that we hope to provide you on the new Explorer would be you come to the Dabba Explorer, you buy a Wi-Fi hotspot from a hardware manufacturer. Right now, Dabba Inc. is the only manufacturer. Of course, there will be others later, but let's say you buy it from us. Then you select which local cable operator to deploy your hotspot. So LCO1 might be in a tier 2 town where he has a couple of hundred subscriptions. You can see his service level, you can see his plans, you can see the rates that he charges, you can see his uptime, all of the metrics that matter, right? And you'll be able to choose from which cable operator you think would best deploy your hotspot. Once you say, okay, I want this operator to deploy my hotspot, the LCO will then take that hotspot and deploy it to a new customer who's looking for a broadband connection. All of these people are getting incoming requests for new customers all the time anyway, and we're going to help them scale that. So your hotspot will go in a new house, in a new office, in a new store, basically anywhere a Wi-Fi hotspot would be useful. And of course, all of these would be paying customers. So that would be sort of the process that we're aiming at, where it would be a fairly instantaneous process where you select who the cable operator is, and within a day or two, or as soon as possible, we'll have timelines on that fairly soon, but your hotspot gets installed and bam, is active and actually helping out paying customers and getting online. So you'll notice that there are sort of the key parties over here. And the way that we're looking at it is a standard sort of buyback, mint and burn model. Now, I'm just going to take a moment to say, yes, we're going to run you through a bunch of these diagrams right now. We will share as much of them as possible as soon as they're a little more polished. But I really want to give you an idea of how we're thinking about it, right? So that was how you see things from a hotspot owner's perspective. This is more of sort of how the tokenomic model would work. So you'd have the Dabba contract on probably the Solana blockchain. We're pretty sure it's going to go on that. We're doing testing at the moment. And tokens are emitted on a fixed supply on a regular basis to connectivity enablers. In this particular case, a connectivity enabler is either a local cable operator or you, the hotspot owner, and maybe one or two other parties that I will cover in the next diagram. Now, once you receive the token as, being part of providing value to the network by being some sort of connectivity enabler, you have options, of course, with your tokens of whether to transfer it to other people. You can spend it on other things that we're going to be able to provide you soon. You can always swap your tokens, you can stake your tokens, or of course, you can hold them. Now, if you choose to swap your token, we're going to be running a liquidity pool managed by the Dabba Foundation, but sort of has Dabba tokens and USDC pair. If you wanted to dump your tokens into this pool, on the other side of the pool, the way that it works is Dabba Inc. will buy the Dabba tokens from the liquidity pool and burn those in return for data credits that are delivered to customers who actually want to access the internet. So end consumers, which is the person in that house or wherever the hotspot is installed, will pay with fiat currency, which is used to buy data credits. Data credits are generated by burning tokens, and this is the demand side of that equation, right? For all of you familiar with Deepin projects and Helium and that sort of thing, there's nothing particularly special here. This is a model you're comfortable with and you've seen how it works. We're also comfortable with it after much thought. There is the addition of the liquidity pool here, which is worth discussing in detail a little bit. Now, really broadly speaking, you can look at where we are in the token and emission and allocation model that we're thinking about right now and going through this thought process is you're going to have a fixed supply emitted on a regular basis, the same way that Helium does, as mentioned earlier. And we're actually going to create two buckets. Now, please note that the 50% on both buckets is notional at the moment. We will be releasing the exact figures really soon. But basically, you have two buckets of proof of coverage and data consumption. And if you look at the overall sort of key players that it takes to run a network like this, you have the local cable operator, the bandwidth provider, which we'll explain in detail a little bit more later, the hotspot owner, and the location owner. Now, for the value that they provide to each one of these buckets, each one of these parties will get a share from that bucket. There will be variants of this during the genesis period, where one bucket may be weighed more heavily to proof of coverage, so that we incentivize local cable operators a little more. And after the genesis period, we're thinking about, maybe we even out the buckets, or rather, sorry to correct that, the bucket leans more towards the data consumption bucket getting more of the share, because you really want to sort of reward based on performance. So this is sort of like a quick overview of where we are in that process. So I want to talk about how we've been thinking about the tokenomics and the people that we've been talking to and where we're at, what we've evaluated and that sort of thing. So first off, we're talking to a bunch of tokenomics experts, from our investors like Borderless and Multicoin. We're talking to the folks over there. There are also external experts that they have introduced us to that we have been going back and forth with all the different models. We did a study where we looked at the current popular tokenomics models that are out there, like Hivemapper, Demo, and others, to look at what are the best practices that we can take from them. One of the strong conversations that we had was, and it's fascinating, right? There's a lot of art and science behind this, right? You can pick numbers, but there are dozens of subtle implications that you sort of really only discover over time. And once you do it, and sometimes you just have to pick answers based on what you think the right thing is at the beginning, and maybe they get adjusted later. So for example, one of those things is a fixed supply on the emission supply side versus a more dynamic approach. An example being the way that Hivemapper has done with sort of a initial mint and then a dynamic mint and burn thing. So after much conversation on that, we landed on a fixed supply versus a dynamic supply, because when we polled most investors or people that have bought heavily into the DePIN space, either in terms of hardware or in terms of tokens and that sort of thing, overwhelmingly, people want to have at least one component in the thing that is predictable. Investors would much prefer to have a predictable supply schedule. So we sort of fixed on that. That makes life a little harder for projects, because when you have a fixed supply, no matter what happens, you have to continuously accelerate the rate of demand, right? Otherwise, inflation becomes really bad. The good thing for us, and why we're confident that a fixed supply is something that we are comfortable with doing, is we know the demand is there on our side. We know we can grow that demand. So we think that maintaining the balance between a fixed supply and a healthy rate of demand is something that's eminently doable. Now, helium is actually sort of a really good starting point for us, because there's so many similarities in how the network has been built. And of course, we spent so much time thinking about how it's going to work for HIT64 also, right? So helium, for example, has roles like mappers, which aren't really that necessary for us as a core component that, should be part of the allocation model. Like we think, for example, mappers can be rewarded from a pre-mined operations pool or that sort of thing, because since you have hundreds of live dynamic devices from authentic end customers using the network, you can use a lot of standard Web2 technology and even basic machine learning algorithms to sort of map the authenticity of whether a hotspot is running and that sort of thing, right? So you don't necessarily need a lot of the roles that they have. So we're trying to basically think of this as still our very much focuses on minimum viable token with the core principles. And then that serves as a starting point for the Dabba token and of course for the H-Wi-Fi token. Both communities might decide to have slightly different variants on that, and we'll get to that really soon. Where we're at is, by and large, we're fairly clear on all aspects of the model. The only bit that we're still sorting through that we hope to get done very soon is what is the initial pre-mine size and what is the size of the liquidity pool that we would want to launch with initially. Apologies, because there's no sort of speeding up this tokenomics thinking through process, because on a very practical level, we're talking to multiple people on multiple time zones. And when somebody presents an idea, you take 24 hours to evaluate that idea, think through its implications, then you have to plug it into your Excel sheet model, and then run that idea through another person, and then sort of pick up that conversation, right? So any interesting idea at this age takes a 3 to 4 day cycle just to go through that process. So it's taking a little time, but we're now confident in the direction that we're headed, and We believe we have good reasons for the numbers that we are going to be putting on things and the reasons why each one of the elements of those tokenomics exist. So that's really it from where things are at the moment. I'm happy to jump into questions or anything like that. Tubes, actually, you want to jump in and add anything at this point? I'm just going to stop sharing my screen.
No, I think you summed up pretty well, and Sikhil was asking bunch of questions. So these LCOs are typically spread all over the country. They have the local resources. They have the means to deploy more connection. The barrier remains for them is the capital, the activation cost for a new connection that is required, the hardware that goes in. So if these guys can be activated with the right set of tools, software, hardware that can scale, I think we have a great shot at capturing market much faster. And at the same time, uh, the acceptance with the consumers also come in if the service is improved and they have a better post-sale service experience as a customer. So yeah, it's a win for everyone.
Sorry, I
Nice.
just want to jump in and add to that point. Is see the key here is providing people the support they need to hit scale. Because fundamentally, the telecom business is what? You have a lot of units that generate a low amount of profit, but once you hit a certain scale, that profit is enough to self-sustain and grow from that point on, right? So think of it this way. We're front loading all of this help and all of this cost to all of these people because 2 years from today, they won't need our support and capital and other things to scale that out. And because we're part of their growth now, all of the benefits of the additional growth that happens on their own team, apart from the fuel that we pour on the fire ourselves, will entirely accrue to us. This will be an accelerating thing. Like, but the best way for me to think about this or for anyone is take the biggest VC in the last 15 years now, right? SoftBank, with its insane amount of money that it has thrown at things. Why can SoftBank throw that money? Because fundamentally, SoftBank debt is backed by SoftBank, the telco, which has subscribers that are going to pay out of free cash flow over a 20-year period. So the moment you hit a mildly meaningful amount of scale, the flywheel just goes insane, and the amount of free cash flow and growth that the business throws off will just frankly be obscene.
Nice. So we also have a bunch of questions from the audience. So
I
guys,
would
if you
like
have
to pick up the
questions,
first one. Uh, if I ask about tokenomics, will we see Don doing a push-up? Come on,
I
Don.
was I was trying to avoid that question and glance over it. See, I can do a push up. I can just like go under the table and be like I did a push up and come back. I don't remember the last time I did an actual push up.
Fair
But
enough.
yes, please do ask your questions. You can ask your questions in chat. We will go through them one by one. There is also a little hand icon at the top right of your screen. So if you guys want to join the stage and also ask a question in person, you're welcome to do that. Um, I think the first question we can go to is from JD. So you guys want to pick up questions and answer them as they're coming in?
Sure. JD has a question. Is there any plans to move forward without using helium? I think using helium will just slow down the growth of your project. I think we are of a view that the whole helium ecosystem understands this space really well, and we want to capture the value over there and offer uh, both when it comes to HIP64 token, HWiFi, and Dabba token as well, and let the community and the user and the customer pick and choose which where do they actually see the value. If they see value in Dabba token, let them mine Dabba. If they see value in HWiFi, they'll have an option to go with HWiFi on the same device. So that's the sort of approach that we are going for.
Yeah, like I want to expand on that a little because see, I feel like the goal here is to deliver a valuable service to an audience that needs it and provide the uh, reward of helping that happen to the person that helped. Now, if the people that helped prefer getting that reward in token A or token B or token C, we are happy to facilitate that as much as possible. We think an inclusive approach matters. And I like Shubh mentioned, fundamentally our hardware, and this we're not going to talk because the message is about narrowing and simplicity, but our hardware is capable of running multiple tokens, and there will always be room for multiple tokens. So yeah, sorry, wanted to throw that in. Shubh, please go ahead for the next. I'm going to mute
Sure.
myself.
Next we have from Velvet Doctor, how many LCOs have shown interest in now and how soon they can start participating or deploying hotspots? So if I look at the overall period, like in the last couple of years, the number would cross more than 2,000 of them have reached out, all organic. We have not, you know, marketed, or there has been zero outbound. So more than 2,000 of LCOs have reached out to us and have been actively in touch with us since like when we are opening up this platform for them. So we want to be very selective and go little slow on this, because this is something where the tools, the software and hardware, everything has to come together, and we should be in a position where things can scale faster, because once we deploy, there's no looking back. We want to quickly onboard people. To answer your question, how soon they can participate, I think the goal is in the next 3 months to do this end to end, including the test net being deployed, and run the entire process. Once it's ironed out, we can open up probably in the month of April for the larger audience. So yeah.
Nice. We also have another question from Siegfried. Have you
Yeah, let me
consulted with
take
high?
this.
Yeah, go for it.
So have you consulted with high quality legal advice regarding whether allowing investments by US citizens or residents constitutes a securities offering? So should jump in if I say anything wrong at any given moment. But yes, for sure, we are in the process of setting the legal structure in place so that this is very clear and compliant. One of the key constituents parties in this to make it not a security, and we're clear about that, is the reason that bringing on as many LCOs as possible also illustrates that all of the work is not being done by just Dabba, right? Because over time, think of it as a marketplace of hotspot owners and people that can deploy these hotspots. In the beginning, yes, Dabba is the first LCO, and therefore it's centralized. But over time, as the number of parties that contribute value to the system increases and diversifies, um, that level of risk lowers. But to be dead clear, yes, we will have a very clear-cut legal structure. Yes, we will share the details of that. This is not one of those things that you can do on sort of faith and a prayer. This has to be dead clear on what's what and how this works. Shubh, anything to add to that?
No, I think that's fair to say. And as far as securities is concerned, we want to stay away from that and make sure the token remains a utility, and there is enough utility being added to the token that, from a distance you can clearly segregate between whether it's securities and or a utility token.
Yeah,
LCO
LCO
work.
is also, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like LCO work is also work done by others. Yeah, but I'm not going to dive. We can do this conversation more deeply offline because, like, we have to be clear on what's what. But the understanding that we have, the approach that we are taking, and of course, we will clarify this and document it clearly, is the issue is if you have one party that is issuing the token and doing the vast majority of the work, and the owner of the hotspot is not doing any work, then you run into issues. If you're able to diversify and show that, in fact, for that piece of hardware, it takes a lot of parties for that thing to succeed, and it's not just one party, it becomes a lot clearer. But as mentioned, yeah, happy to have a more detailed call about this. Yes, there will be documentation around it. And it has to be clear because quite simply, People are not going to buy if it is not clear. So we will make damn sure we make it clear.
Nice. So yeah, again, guys, if you have any more questions, please write them in. I think Siegfried is typing another question. Again, if you want to join us, if you want to ask a question, you can ask a question in real time also. Okay. Siegfried just said upcoming. Cool. So then, okay, Velvet Doctor is also typing a question. So let's just give that
Um,
a second.
if anyone would want to be, uh, having more, want to have more meaningful conversation or have ideas around, tokenomics, please feel free to PM me or Dawn. Would love to get on a call and understand if you have any suggestions over there. So please reach out. That'll be super helpful.
Nice. Velvet Doctor asked another question. How many of the initial 1,000 hotspots are now bought? Just curious. Karam, you're muted.
Sorry, where are we at? We're at like what, 170, 180 on barely 20%. This is
Yeah, we are at
mostly entirely because
185. Yeah.
yeah, because everybody says I will buy it in a heartbeat the moment you give me the tokenomics. So
Yeah.
we haven't marketed, we haven't pushed at all because the overwhelming thing is make the tokenomics clear and people will absolutely buy. Um, yeah. And we think that's fair. But there's one thing I want to point out though. All of you that have got so far, because our Genesis period starts from November 1st, you're going to be incredibly happy once the mainnet goes live and the tokenomics are clear, because the value that you will receive from having
It's not starts, it started.
started, yeah, like the value that you receive that, yes, thank you, JD. Like I applaud ability, wise decision. Um, the people that bought earlier are going to be extremely happy that they were willing to take that leap of faith that early on.
Yeah.
This is just the last sort of 10% grind that we're going through. Um, we think that when the tokenomics are clear and when on the Explorer, you can see the data being consumed, you can see the burn happening, you can see that the ratios are extremely healthy compared to the general environment. We think sales will be absolutely fine. Our focus in this short term is building that basic foundation that makes sense. Oh, so I want to jump in. Yeah, so where Velvet Doctor said, I think yesterday Arman from Helium recorded a Twitter space where he was talking about improving the demand side of Helium Mobile. Maybe that could be helpful. Um, so we actually are the flip side, right? We have more demand that we can serve. Like, here's a simple thing. We have 300 hotspots that were of new locations that we as our own LCO from our existing customer base have been contracted to deploy by like the next 3 days. And we're scrambling how to expand the network while doing other stuff. So a lot of the other projects have a supply thing, but they don't have a demand thing. For us, our thing is going to really be about how are you going to catch up to the demand that's there. Yeah. Sorry, Shubs, do you want to take Siegfried's thing?
Right, to get on board of helium could just. I think a lot of this thing is we need to understand the things ourselves. We want to be, absolutely dead clear. We come as a company, as individuals, we come from a Web 2 world, right? So this is something new for us, and we don't want to be jumping too fast that we, half-heartedly adopt the tools, readily use available stuff, and use them directly without understanding the nuances. So we want to make sure absolutely what we are getting into, we are getting after we understand the bits and pieces, how it's going to work, because this is something that is going to be there for the next decades to come. This is not for us to be like, playing around with and be like, let's use something which is available and then don't understand how exactly it works. So I guess while it makes sense to use a lot of those tools which are available out there, especially related to helium directly, but I think it's better that we put that little extra effort to understand things and then do it.
Well, I want to flip that actually, right? So that's the approach that we started with tokenomics. We said, cool, almost exactly like Helium Mobile, and then we will evolve. And everybody came back to us and was like, no, 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 you can't copy the way that they've done it. You need to think through how this works for your unique environment and sort of build it out from there. So I think we're going to end up in that same situation with tooling and that sort of thing. But yeah, there's a lot in common. And look, all of these networks have to interoperate, right? If not today, tomorrow. So that tooling is going to be merged. And yeah, like just to jump in with that thought that demand is ready to be tapped, maybe POC isn't necessary or a lot less. Yes. Generally speaking, over time for any network, POC should always be on a downward curve, right? You should stakeholders in the system should get rewarded based on actual meaningful paid usage and not even like hype of, yay, here's a promotional free plan that vastly undersells the cost of what it actually takes to run the thing. And so use a lot of data, right? And we believe in the long run, you want to keep these numbers healthy from day one. And if you can do this in the sort of bear market that we're in, where you can run it profitably, run it usefully, run it lean, and so on and so forth, the moment the bull market starts to pick up, you will do nothing but sort of benefit from it and not be stuck firefighting and trying to solve problems. While they're filling time, we can talk about other things that take time that are behind the scenes that
Anurag,
maybe the audience doesn't know.
stop sharing your screen.
I'm for the life of me, like, Don, help me out here.
Oh, just click on the white button on the screen share. Yeah, the big
It's
white. Yeah,
stop
just
streaming.
yep.
Oh wow,
There you
that
go.
was simple.
Yeah, I think while people are typing in questions, another fun thing to talk about is just what we're
Oh
doing
wait,
over the
question.
next. Okay, go for it.
We'll come back to the answer. I love the questions. Like it clarifies our thinking, right? This is stuff that, like, sorry. So
Go for
all
it.
the revenue acquired from customers will be used to burn Dabba tokens, or will Dabba Inc. earn revenue? So in the beginning, we will earn a little bit of revenue, and most of token revenue will go towards token burn. But the goal is as soon as possible, all revenue goes to token burn. Yeah, Shubh, am I right?
Yep, that's right. The idea is to cover the ops part, which has to be paid out in the fiat initially. So part of the revenue would be utilized over there. And as we scale, the goal is quickly to shift entire revenue to be utilized to burn the token, and the entire economy works on the Dabba token.
Wi-Fi Dabba Inc. mainly benefit from token price appreciation? Yes.
Yes.
And hopefully we set up a system in a way where token appreciation and token price has some measure to reality and is not entirely built around just hype. Like hype
Right.
is great. And of course, everyone wants a high token price, but you want something that is genuine and happens over
Yeah, we
time.
don't know the
And
term yet, but it has to be uh, real. We're not talking about a stable coin here. We're not talking about it has to find a new sort of a token which is close to reality but has also hype factor in it. So something, yeah, in between.
yeah, like I'll give you, like, for example, one of the reasons like modeling the tokenomics takes a little time because you have to model apart from the sheer sort of revenue to token value thing, you have to try to model in a hype factor or like a model in a what is the market going to reward you with. So a clear way to illustrate this concept is in the traditional stock market, take the two telcos that are there in India that are massive, Airtel and Jio, right? Airtel has a 50x multiple on its earnings, like price to earnings ratio. Geo, it wildly varies. So one of the challenges that we have is what is a healthy price to earnings ratio? And it's cool. First of all, I'd like to point out that we will be talking based on a price to earnings ratio, earnings being a key word. It's not price to hope ratio, which is there for a lot of projects, which will come back. But to bring it back on track, are there other companies that are running base tokens in India? Oh my God, yes. Like Shubs just sent me this report 2 weeks ago. India is the second largest adopter of crypto after the US in the world. There is a ridiculous amount of belief and hope in tokens. People still have yet to see the apps and services that impact them on a daily basis. We are hopefully going to be one of these things. But the token economy and the general adoption of crypto is really high
So
in the
I'll just
country.
add over there, in the deepen space, DeFi space, we don't have anything as of today. These are mostly gaming, uh, DeFi and other crypto projects that we
No,
have ton
Drive
of.
is there, no? Someone is trying to
There,
tabs.
yeah,
Drive has just
Drive,
coming
started
up.
DRIV.
onboarding.
Yeah,
They don't have the token out yet, so mostly Dubai based, doing over there. Drive has just launched, so I met them at the Filecoin event. So yeah, I was talking to the founder for those. So yeah, they don't have it yet in India, but yeah, they're going to be soon launching their token as well. Still not out. So yeah. Uh, Next is any their legal issues Indian government. It's all gray, right? Government is talking about bringing laws, but still, like at least government is taking, they brought last year 1% tax, so they are working towards it, but still you are in that area where things are still gray. That is one of the reasons we have to figure out where will the foundation sit, in which jurisdiction, which is the best, both economy wise, where which country is offering the most stable. So we have, other than your, traditional ones, we are also considering Dubai at this point. Dubai has matured as a crypto, offering some really good crypto stable laws. So Dubai is certainly on our radar to set up the foundation thing. So we'll have a decision on that as well soon.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons this stuff takes a little time, right? Because whatever we propose in the structure of the tokenomics has to be backed by the sort of legal structure in place, which then also has to be backed by the legal structure in multiple jurisdictions. And getting that clarity and getting that paperwork in place and getting that process in place is, unfortunately, there's no way to speed that up, right? This is the area where Web 2 and Web 3 meet. And so there is time and friction there, where one of these on ramp sort of connectivity to the real world bits. Last thing, wait, I want to add is like, well, the doctor says you are raising my expectations. Yes, I please lower. I will stop talking. I'll let Shubs take the rest of this. Yeah, no,
yeah,
like even expectations, please.
yeah. I think we'll take the last couple of questions and then close up. I think Siegfried also had uh, kind of a question on the criticism for HIP 53 or us copying HIP 53.
Shubs, you want to address that? If there's criticism, I assume you might have the wrong impression that people finished doing copy and paste. Yeah, I think that is what happened. Is it was misinterpreted as, hey, you guys haven't thought about the token at all. We sort of looked at it as it doesn't matter which crypto project or deepen project even you look at, whatever the first tokenomics are is not what it is a couple of months later, right? The number of hits or whatever improvement proposals. So really, is it that big a deal of where the token starts? Turns out, yes, in some ways, no, in some ways. But yeah, I guess now we are in the very clear, thoughtful approach. And so we might as well take the time to finish out the thinking and hopefully set up a structure that has as few changes as possible, at least to the core principles over time. And yeah.
Nice. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. Is there anything else you'd like to add on, Shubs or Karam, before we close up?
I'm good. For us, it's for me, back to the grind, making sure the software gets built, the hardware gets deployed, and we can go live as soon as possible. The two remaining things on Shub's plate, I'm gonna throw you under the bus here, is the remainder of the tokenomics, which is the pre-mine and the other bit. But yeah, nothing to add. Shubs?
Yes.
No, I think, yeah, while, all we ask over here is a little patience from everyone involved in the project with us, all you guys who are backing us. I think things are moving, certainly moving, and we want to make sure we move correct without making stupid mistakes. And I'm sure we will make mistakes, but we don't want to make obvious mistakes over here. And yeah, things are going to be positive going forward. More communications. Don will be. We have been pushing Don to put the content team together, so he has been able to put that together now. So yeah, more content coming and keep you guys updated.
Yep. Velvet Doctor just said, please keep sharing improvements frequently. So the plan is, like Shubs and Karam said, we've built up the content team. And the idea is to make sure that there's weekly updates, whether it's through videos, doing, these kind of town halls, just to make sure that, progress is out there. So start building up those social channels and just kind of increase visibility into what's happening. So that's definitely going to start improving over the next couple of months. Cool.
Yeah,
So
and
again,
again, I
huh,
think, sorry, just one last thing. Again, wanted to appreciate, thank you all for your early belief and the time that you were taking to be part of this and even get on the town hall and ask you, like, we really appreciate it. Believe, I think all three of us,
A great
we don't take
motivator.
any of this for
Absolutely.
granted.
Absolutely. It's a
Yeah,
great motivator, and we are honestly thankful for your support and belief. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, Don, I had cut you off. My bad.
oh
I keep
no,
doing that. Whoops.
it's okay. Exciting town halls. It's always a lot of fun stuff to talk about. But yes, thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks again for the support. I will be sharing a recording of this call along with minutes of the meeting and links within the next 48 hours. So probably by like end of Saturday at the latest. You guys will have the details. As always, if you have questions, keep asking them in the channels. Let us know. We keep answering and reach out to us for anything. So thank you guys for joining in. Have a great weekend, and we will see you all again very soon. Bye bye.